Alright, welcome back. So if you remember last time, we created a sweet database that has all these options to let us create new achievements. We can give them some name, IDs, and then we can rearrange them. So today we're gonna make this a bit more useful and create a little button that will generate our enum for us. So for starters, let's create an editor script. To do that, we'll go to our editor folder and right click, create C# script, and I'm gonna call this one Achievement Database Editor. Hit enter, wait for Unity to do its little thing. Once it's ready, I'm going to left click on it and open up Visual Studio. And let's get the coding. Now, first thing, I want to start using a Unity editor namespace because again, it's in a different assembly. It was in the editor folder. And with this namespace, we actually get access to this editor class. And I'm going to go ahead and extend that. And I'm going to give this class a custom editor attribute. And then it asks for what type, or the type of object that we're going to be, or this editor will apply to. And I'm going to pass in the achievement database to the typeof function. So now this achievement database editor will only work on the achievement database. And because of that, I know that I can create a new variable called achievement database. I'm going to call it database. And then if we look at the Unity docs, we know that an editor has a private void on enable method. I'm going to go ahead and override that. And inside of it, we also have this target property that we inherit from the editor. And because we know that we only work on the achievement database, we can assume that it's safe to cast the target as a achievement database. And then we'll go ahead and set the variable we created earlier as that. And the reason we do that is so we can access some of the data inside the database. Then let's go ahead and override our draw inspector or inspector GUI. And I'm going to leave this base on inspector GUI because I wanted to draw that reorderable list. However, afterwards, I wanted to also draw a button, and I'm just going to say generate enum. And I'm going to surround this in an if statement because if somebody clicks on that button, it will return true. And in here, I'm going to call a method that we haven't created yet, but I'm going to call it generate enum. So let's go ahead and create this method. Private void generate enum. Now, the first thing is we need to figure out where we're going to save this enum. And I'm literally just going to be creating a new C# file that's going to contain that code, and then we'll use Unity to import it. So for starters, I'm going to give us a file path, and I'm going to use actually system.io to combine our file paths. I'm going to use the application.data path. So this is the path to our assets folder, and then I'm going to combine it with the name of our file. So achievements.cs is what I'm going to call it. Make sure I spell that correctly. Then the next thing is we're actually going to write some code. So this code is just going to be public enum achievements. Again, you can call it the enum whatever you want, but this is what I'm going to go with. And then I'm going to open up the curly brace, and then I'm going to dynamically generate the body. So I'm going to make a for each loop that's going to loop over all of the achievement in our database.achievements, which is why we needed this target to begin with. And for each of those achievements inside the code, I'm going to go ahead and add achievement ID, and then I'm going to append a comma afterwards. Now, this is where I would do any sort of validation. Validate the ID is proper format. That way, if you have like spaces in your ID or something like that, it will fail to compile after you save the file. And then, of course, we got to remember our closing brace. Now, once that's done, we can use the file.writeAllText function and pass in our file path and the code. Now, this will create a file or overwrite it if it already exists. However, Unity still won't recognize it until we refresh the assets. And there's multiple ways you can do this. We can do the asset database.refresh, but that will end up refreshing all the assets, and it can take a little while. So what I'm going to do is just import asset, and then I'm going to pass the path to where our asset is located. So it's in the assets folder, and then I named it achievements.cs. Now, the cool part is you can actually make this dynamic and let the user specify where it's saved and what it's named, but I'm just going to leave it like this for my purposes. So once we finish writing this editor script, we can go back to Unity, and if we go back, we'll wait for it to compile and then go back to our achievement database. You'll now notice there's this Enum button that showed up here, and I'm actually going to make it a little bit bigger because it's kind of hard to click on. So I'm going to go back here, come on, where's my autocomplete? GUI layout dot height, and I'm going to give it like 30 and see what that looks like. So we go back, wait for it to compile, and you see the button becomes a bit bigger. So now I'm actually going to delete all of these that I'm not using. Just keep this one. I'm going to give it ID of hello world. It doesn't really matter what the title is. And when I hit generate, in theory it should have created a achievements C# file and then imported it. So if I look, that's exactly what happened. And if we go back to the database and then create a new one, and let's call this one goodbye, and then hit generate again. If we go back to here and reload it, you'll notice that it's been added to our Enum. Alright, in the next video we'll start creating our achievement manager that will handle clicking of the buttons and interacting with our UI. See you next time.